This week, we're going to throw around some ideas about how schools should handle school bullying. We'll get right into it after I hit this music. This week, I have a very special guest. If you're a fan of the Netflix TV show Glow, then I got a treat for you. Joining me today is one of the original Glow wrestlers, the gorgeous ladies of wrestling, April Hom. Did I say that correctly, April?
Aloha. Yes, Apil Hom. Aloha.
April, before we get into our topic today, I'm curious, I'm sure people are curious too, on the Netflix TV show of Glow, on how closely did they get that right with the startup of Glow and how Netflix portrayed it?
Well, it was pretty close. What you just need to realize is Netflix is there to get viewership, and it is loosely based on the original Glow show that I was in the '80s. And so there are a lot of things that are true to form. And then there are some things that, of course, they're going to add some spice to it and some storylines that may have not have been exactly on our Glow show. Our show was a family show on TV in the '80s, and we had lots of kids at our live tapings of the show. Netflix, I would say, is a little bit more for the older crowd. And because there is, unfortunately, sex and drugs does, get viewership. And so I say to some of our fans that maybe you got to watch Netflix Glow when you're out of high school, but there's a lot of similarities. You will see that there are characters that were combined from the original Glow characters.
Yeah, how about your
They did
character? So you're
they
the
could not use our characters. None of the original characters you will not see on the Netflix show because they did not want to pay us for our
oh
characters,
man.
and we were not going to sign a release to give you our characters for nothing. No, nobody made any money on that show except for Babe the Farmer's Daughter. That's Ursula Hayes, who owned the name Glow. So unfortunately, nobody else was asked to consult, even myself and Americana as the wrestling trainers for the show, or any of the other girls. Nobody else was asked to partake or, were included in the show, which is unfortunate. It would have been nice to see some of us included in the show. So you won't see our characters, but they did combine. Like for my one of my favorites is Britannia, and she's part Argodiva and part Zelda the Brain. You will see one, like you see the main characters is Liberty Bell, and then
Yep.
you see Zelda. I mean Zoya, sorry, Zoya, and that would be our Americana and our Nanuchka. So the characters are there, and if you are a true Glow fan, you can see who is who. So it is still exciting and it is still our story, but it is loosely based on the original show.
Your character is the Royal Hawaiian. Did they kind of
Correct.
resemble any of your character into the wrestlers that you recognized?
Not mine particularly, but you will see Mount Fiji was one of our big icon wrestlers, and she was an Olympic shot putter for the U.S. She actually was portrayed as the character Machu Picchu,
Okay.
and then you will see other characters. But my storyline, like the girl that does play the trainer, that was one of my roles, and then also Awesome Kong played the welfare mom, and her injuries were pretty much tailored like my story, and why I stopped with Glow is because I got hurt and I was injured. So that's kind of it. So you will see some of those storylines, and maybe the fans may or may not know that they are true stories that came from the original show, but the characters are different. So you will see the similarities, though. There are some that you could tell who is who, and they mix and matched a couple of our Glow characters to become one of the new Netflix characters on Glow.
So after Glow, did you have any work with like the WWF at that time or WWE right now? Did you have any work with
N-
them or was that kind
No,
of the end of your
no,
career?
actually, the only one that made it all the way to WW, it would have been WWF back then, was our Tina Ferrari from Glow. She was Ivory in WWF. So she made it. Now there was Hollywood and myself actually were contacted, and we could have been a possibility of going into WWF, but she broke her leg, and of course I hurt my back. So we both were injured, and so that never took place. So the only one that really made it all the way was Tina Ferrari. That was Lisa Moretti, who was Ivory in WWF. So,
Okay.
but there is,
Yes, I
there is
remember
that.
Ivory.
And yeah,
Yeah.
so Ivory was, inducted in the Hall of Fame. I want to say it was 2018. She was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. So that's our pride in the history of the Glow alumni.
Was Medusa part of your
Not
show?
part of Glow.
Okay.
No, no, she was not. But yeah, we've gotten to see her a lot at our CAC conventions in Las Vegas, the Cauliflower Alley. Yeah, I've met her a few times, and she's just wonderful.
Okay.
So
So after your wrestling, I shouldn't say wrestling career because you're
yeah.
still kind of actively in that area.
Well, I am now, but I did take, after I got hurt, I never really thought about going back to Glow. Like people ask now, they're like, why didn't you go back and do like commentating or becoming a manager or doing something else with the show? And we never really thought about all those things because back then we didn't have all the things that are taking, place today in wrestling. You have all the girls that do the side interviews either before matches or after matches or, kind of talking to the wrestlers and things like that. So I basically just went on and had a normal life. I went out and got a real job, and I worked for United Airlines for over 25 years
Oh,
and all of that. And then when Glow kind of resurfaced and we got the internet and we actually not the internet, but well, internet and social media, then there was a way to reconnect with our fans by way of Facebook back then. And that's how it started. And then we started getting a few girls together and doing some meet and greets and traveling around the country and doing, the conventions and Comic Cons and other things. And then that's when we all started to come together and then, I started to continue just working with the current day indie wrestlers and still traveling around the country and stuff. But I got married and had a my family, and I have my son, and that's kind of where we talking about bullying. I was bullied as a kid, and then it kind of overflowed into my son, and that was kind of involved. So I did have a touch of having to deal with that in myself and as a mother.
yeah, and you also now in your like kind of like your passion, spare time. I shouldn't say spare time, it sounds bad. But your passion right now is suicide prevention. You're advocating for suicide prevention. And you mentioned to me
Yes,
that bowling is like one of the top 5 reasons kids are committing
three,
top
top
3.
three,
Top 3 reasons.
number three cause of death in young adults, young teens and adults, 15 to 24. And since the pandemic, the child and teenage suicide rate has just skyrocketed because of the isolation that the kids were used to being able to go to school every day and hang out with their friends and play with their friends after school and go over each other's houses and all that stuff came to a complete halt during the pandemic. And that's when the number in cases just went crazy, and then I just have had several, you know, circumstances where I've had to deal with people I knew that suicide affected, and luckily I have had some who were able to seek help. And in some cases, I've actually reached out, even if they weren't in my city and they're across the country. I would reach out and try to research the resources for them in another state
Yeah.
that could potentially help them, and then they're doing well today. So it's just a matter of getting the information out, having the resources available. And today I know we had talked a little bit, and just how do you report it, how do you get someone to listen to you, where do we get the action, how do these kids trust the school systems and believe that if I say something, will anything be done about it,
In that top
what can
3,
we do?
in that top 3 is that that bowling traced back to the school bowling? Is that where these kids are experiencing the most
Yes.
of it?
Yes. And some of the results of the studies in that is that they say that uh, teachers, nurses, um, what is the other advocates
Doctors,
for
social workers,
the
counselors.
doctors, social workers, counselors, have such a big impact on the kids who are suffering from depression, anxiety, all the things that come along with the bullying, that they're finding that they get the benefit of these other resources to help them with the bullying versus depending on only their family or parents. And it has been linked that, we need to educate the teachers, and maybe not all of the teachers at the school, but the counselors and maybe some of the teachers, because the students rely on the direction or from coaches,
Yeah.
coaches or your drama teacher or, your music teacher. And, they built a rapport with the students, and they have found that there is a positive benefit from having that connection available to the school age kids versus only relying on family and parents, because some kids are afraid to bring things like this up to the parents. And I do have my friend Carol Castle, who is actually in Minnesota, and she has a nonprofit, which is Wrestling for Life. And the connection is Wrestling Hall of Fame in Minnesota is the wrestling organization that is her platform and who she works with for this nonprofit for suicide prevention. And she actually is a great resource um, to pick on, and you might want to get in contact, or I can get you two together. But the hotline that she has um, that you can call is different than the National Suicide Hotline. The National Suicide Hotline, if you were to call, you could potentially be put on hold,
Wow.
and quite often, from what I understand. And so the organization that she works with that has the suicide hotline is manned by first responders. And the reason she came up with the nonprofit organization is her son was a first responder and he committed suicide. So since then, she had thought of coming up with the nonprofit organization to have resources and these life coins. They're real pretty. I should have looked for mine to show you it, but they sell them, and they encourage like the fire departments, police departments, schools, different companies, organizations. It doesn't matter who they are, and they'll even work a deal if you buy it, larger quantity, drop the price. And it's a pretty coin, and it has the number right on it, the hotline. But if you were to call that number, you won't be put on hold, and the call center is manned by first responders. So it's not like you're just calling and it's a person who's just answering the phone. Um, so that I would encourage, people to look up. It's called wrestlingforlife.org. And I see her usually once a year at the convention in Las Vegas with the Cauliflower Alley Club.
Okay.
And she's a wonderful lady that's, done a lot for the community, as well as, she's in Minnesota and I'm in California, but we managed to get, I do also co-host a radio show with Patrick J. Martinez, the DJ at Ham Radio in Boyle Heights. And we've even had her on our show. We do a couple episodes a year that are for suicide prevention, and we'll bring her on the show. And it is, unfortunately, it's just a radio show, but even though we do a radio show, I do it live so the people can actually see what's going on with us in the studios. We have a call in line. You can call in and ask questions. And if we don't have the answers, we'll try to find a resource for you and see what we can do, because there's lots of free mental health in
Yeah.
places and people don't reach out for that. But it starts with the kids, and
Yeah.
the bullying is most important right now. So just suggestions would be, we've talked about some things, and is just to have something very visible,
Yeah.
so like
Yeah.
we have those signs. Yeah, go ahead.
Um, yeah, I think that's the problem. Kids don't know where to report bullying. So I pulled up my current. So I live in Mankato, Minnesota. So we have District 77, and they're reporting. They have a bullying reporting procedures, and under reporting procedures, letter B, it states reports of bullying should be made in writing to their building principal or to the building supervisor. But oral reports shall also be considered as complaints. Why can't you go
But
to a
this isn't.
why can't you go to a teacher and tell them you're being
Yeah.
picked on?
Well, but it's not just a complaint.
Exactly, but
So I,
that's what they say. It's if you don't do it this
it,
way, it's a complaint.
well, that's not good enough, because with these types of things, the proof and the numbers are there that say bullying, and whether it is the person who is being bullied or the bully will both need some type of counseling resource, and there's a specific reason. Why is the person who is bullying, why are they doing that? There's got to be an underlying reason. So that person also needs help, and it needs to be something as plain as day and in their face. Just like I say, those evacuation charts that are plastered all over the walls in buildings.
Yeah.
If there's a fire, you need to use the exit over there to evacuate. They need to have a sign with the big giant red circle with the line through it. No bullying. And if you are bullying, here is what you need to do. You need to call da 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 da, and you get connected and you can report it. No, you're not going to file a complaint. You're going to call and report. This is what's happening to me right now. I'm at school. I'm on the school campus and I am afraid for my life and I need somebody. I don't know. I don't know what the procedure is going to be, but something needs to be implemented. It needs to be put in place so that that call triggers to wherever it needs to go, filter however it filters, whether it goes to the school board office and comes back to the principal or starts in the school itself and goes to the principal and then they go, it goes up and wherever it needs to go, but something has to be immediate. It has to be immediate
And
action
accessible.
and accessible because the kids are not it's not something that the kids are going to rely on or use as a resource if they can't believe that it's going to be done or there's going to be action taken immediately. And that's what needs to happen because do you want the suicide to happen on your campus? You don't,
No.
right? I mean, so you don't want, because then guess what? Now you've created a whole nother slew of problems because now you've got to have counseling for all those kids who had to experience the incident happening on a campus somewhere. So get something implemented. A sign needs to be posted all over that building so that whether you're inside, outside the building, on the playground, in the gym, wherever, if something is taking place, they need to be able to have a resource that I can call now and get help. Just like they had in the school in the college campuses now, they've implemented those towers that they go and touch and the lights go
Yeah,
off
like
and
the blue
everything
phones or
because
whatever. I think
yeah,
yeah.
whatever they call that. I don't know what it's called, but they have that. So why can't we have something visible but attainable and something that they can see is there? Oh, this just happened. There's that sign. I've seen it at school before. Okay, I need to go up to that sign and see what do I need to do? And it needs to be done. And they need to have an assembly. They need to bring the awareness and then you say, we are implementing a new procedure. You can feel confident that the school and the school board is in approval. This has been something that has been approved, and this is what we will now be doing. Da, 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 da. Here's a sign. This is you having a problem. This is what you do. We're not filing a complaint on a computer on a piece of paper and waiting for 3 weeks down the road for someone to get back to you. No, it needs to happen immediately.
Yeah, and I think
I
any staff member of the school district should be able to
should be.
handle at least as far as, let's say, professional staff, teachers, counselors, nurses. Why does it have to
They
rely
should
on
all
one
be
person?
advised on what the procedure is, and then it can be escalated to whoever has to then, actually address what is the next immediate step. But something needs to be implemented. I mean, it's just crazy. If it's the number three cause of death in young teens and young adults, there's got to be something to help curb that and get those numbers down because this is unacceptable. It's just something that has been ignored long enough,
Yeah. I've
and I think
uh,
no, just needs to be addressed.
I've been in some meetings and we were talking about school bullying, and I don't know if this is 100% true or not. So, but I'm just going to speculate. This is what I've heard. So I don't know if it's true or not. But schools don't like reporting bullying because it can hurt them financially. If they have too many bullying
Oh,
issues, it hurts them financially. So they'll call them as complaints or they'll sweep it on their rug. They'll sweep it underneath the rug like it never happened. So I don't understand. I
well,
don't know how many lives it takes before they start taking bullying seriously. Maybe one kid committing suicide's not a big deal to them. It just sure is for that family. That sounds kind of harsh to say, but this is how a lot of
well,
people I
I'm
talk
I'm
to are
gonna I'm gonna
feeling.
share I'm gonna share a personal story. if if that's what they're afraid of, by sweeping it under the rug is only going to create a bigger problem down the road. I lived in Hawaii and there was a big scandal which took place just a few years ago with Kamehameha, which is the private Hawaiian school in Hawaii. And back in the day, and this was my husband, my first husband, went to this school, and the doctor, the psychiatrist that worked for this school, was molesting the boys at the school. So years later, an individual came back to Hawaii. He had moved out of the state, went back and confronted the school, and the school swept it under the rug. So it was the school and the board of trustees, so two different entities. And then all these men came out of the woodworks and they came and accused the doctor. A couple of the gentlemen committed suicide because everything was ignored and swept under the rug. So they got enough men to come forward. One of the top attorneys in Hawaii filed a suit. Eventually, that doctor committed suicide himself because he knew he was guilty.
Yeah.
It was a multi-million dollar lawsuit. So if schools today don't want to handle a bullying situation because of finances that they're maybe not going to get allotted because of too many complaints, well, do you want one of these lawsuits like the Catholic Church and all the other things that you now see for whether it's bullying or molestation or whatever the case may be? Schools and entities are afraid of being sued. Well, guess what? It's happening. So they need to do something. I don't see sweeping it under the rug how that's going to solve anything. So you might as well start now, devise some kind of process, get this out there, and make it available to the students now. Not 3 weeks from now, not by filing a complaint in a computer and not getting the attention. They need the current time attention. It needs to be something that they are getting and are seeing is actually happening. Otherwise, guess what? It's not going to work.
Yeah.
The next kid is just going to say, "Hey, yeah, they put that sign up there, but guess what? Nothing was done about it. So why should I do it if it doesn't work? There's no action, there's no proof. Nobody's stepping up to the plate." So it really needs to be something that the students can really see is actually going to work.
Yeah.
They're actually going to do something about it and listen to us.
I'm planning to run for school board. Well, I am going to run for school board this year for my town. So I'm going
Wow,
back.
exciting.
I'm going back to all the school board videos because it's all recorded. And I watched the
Uh-huh.
open forums. And back in February, this one gentleman reported bullying to the school board. Now they get 3 minutes. And I felt bad for the guy because the school board didn't say anything about the report. Like, I'm sorry. He just said his piece, gave him a sheet of paper how to get a hold of him. And that was it.
Oh
And
my God.
it's like, I hope they followed up with that guy because he had a very valid complaint that his daughter was being picked on constantly at one of our local schools. So he went to the school board, reported it. They don't give him a response back. So I don't know if they ever contacted this guy or not. But at least one of them could have said, "Well, I'm sorry your daughter has experienced that. I didn't hear that in that video." But it seems like I got the feeling for that guy, like the school board just didn't really care and like, hurry up, say your 3 minutes and get out of here. That's how I took it as. Maybe I took it as that way because I'm more passionate than they are, but it's like,
Well, I experienced the bullying in my days raising my son. So my son experienced the bullying to extremes to where he would hide in the bathroom and eat his lunch in the bathroom because he was being so bullied out on the lunch area where the tables and chairs are, and then the guys that were bullying him. There was always a leader guy, and then his 4 or 5 friends. So we actually had instances where we had to go to the principal. There was conferences with the parents, and he was suspended, and then it continued, and my son did get involved in a fight where he fought back and threw one of his books and hit the kid in the mouth and broke his tooth. And then they started coming back saying, "Oh, his parents are going to sue you for damaging his tooth." And I'm like, "Okay, well, try it," because their kid started and has been, and it's been documented, the bullying, and he's been suspended, and here he is still bullying my son. And so his was self defense to the bully.
Yeah.
So nothing ever came about. They never sued. The school did, address it, and we had conferences and that kind of thing. But I think the students need to feel that if I do complain, that something will be done about it, because otherwise it's not going to work. They're not going to report it. They're not going to feel that there is somebody there to support them and offer the assistance and help that is needed before they decide to do something like suicide.
Yeah. April, I want to pick your brain because if I do win on school board, I want to see what your answer would be if you were in charge of setting an anti-bullying zero tolerance rule in your school. What would that look like? Because I might just steal it.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm a visual person, so to me, anything that's where I can see something, it's got to be like something plastered on the
A
wall,
sign
with
that's simple and cheap. That's simple and cheap to make.
no bullying, the big red with the X, no bullying zone, no bullying zone, period,
If you
right?
if
Or
you if you
no,
see it,
and
hear
if
it, call here or email
report
here,
it.
report it here.
Yes.
Yes.
Whatever the process ends up being, and you need to have something that's going to be immediate,
Yep.
and you need to have like an assembly or whatever to introduce this, that we are coming out with a brand new, process. If you need assistance, these signs are going to be all over the school. You will be able to, if you don't remember it, screenshot it in your phone. If you don't remember what the number is that you need to call, have it in your phone, and you need to use it. That we're going to tell you what this is that we're implementing. This is how it works. This is what we're going to be able to do for you. And maybe out of it, they can get students to get to the point where they don't have to reach doing that process. Maybe they are willing to come up to a counselor or a faculty member and reach out and say, "Hey, I need help. I don't need to call that number yet because it's not that bad, but I need help, and can you, refer me to wherever? Is it the counselor I need to talk to? Is it the nurse? Who do I need to talk to when I feel like I'm being threatened and bullied and I'm not at that point where I need that emergency number, but where can I go to talk to someone that can help me with some resources on what I can do right now
Yeah.
before I get to the point where I feel like I'm going to commit suicide?"
I like that because what the policy that my district has, you gotta print off of forms, mail it to their principal. They got 2, 3 days. I mean,
No,
first
no,
of all,
no, no,
kids are not gonna know where to find that form, first of all, and they're probably not gonna tell their parents that are being bullied because it's embarrassing.
no.
I never
And
told
they're
my
not going to
parents.
do it. They're not going to. If you were to tell me and I was a kid and you're telling me that the way I report being bullying is I got to go on a computer and print a form and fill it out and send it to someone, I'm not going to do that. I need something that I can do right now.
No.
I just got threatened a half an hour ago. I don't need to wait a day. I don't need to wait a week. I don't need to wait 3 weeks. I need someone to know about it right now.
Yeah, because
And that's where it's going to stop.
no kid should have to sit there and worry about what's gonna
Nope.
happen after school, during lunch, on the way back home, on the school
On the way
bus.
home,
It should be able to be dealt
that's
with
right. It
instantly.
should be dealt with at that time. So I say no tolerance, zero tolerance for bullying. And this is the resource. You need help, you call this number.
April, I love this idea, and I'm probably gonna steal it when I get elected to the
Well,
school
you
board
do
this
what you
year.
need to do, Tim, and I will be. You want me to brainstorm some more about
Yes.
some other stuff? I'll be happy to
Maybe
help.
maybe
But,
what I'll have you
you know,
do is give me a video shout out that I can blast all over social media
we could do that too. I can
and
do that. I'll be happy to
threaten
do
the
that.
Royal
And
Hawaiian
if
will
you
come
want to
out.
come, And if you want to come on our show, I can get you on the radio show and we can do to where you can actually advertise it where you are, because it's worldwide. So even though the radio station is in a circumference of the LA area,
Yep.
you can stream it online.
Oh,
So it can
yeah.
be streamed anywhere. So when we're online and then when I'm on Facebook, you can also advertise. People can watch my Facebook and see us,
Oh, yeah,
but we would be
that's
on a
that's
radio
that's a
show.
great idea. Yes. Get
So
that.
if you want to do that, I can
Oh,
also
of
arrange to
course.
have you be a guest on our show, and we can do a bullying show and a suicide prevention all in one together
That'd be
and
fun.
start to
Yeah.
brainstorm and get the awareness out there and then help get you elected, because this is, one of the things that you want to see
Yes.
happen during the time that maybe you're going to be elected.
Yes. I love it.
So that would be awesome.
April, if people want to get a hold of you, get in touch with you, ask you questions about wrestling, glow, whatever it may
Well,
be.
bullying, suicide prevention,
Yes.
whatever. If you'd like to get me onto one of your podcasts, whoever's podcast, radio show, whatever they'd like, if they'd like me to come on and do something similar to what we did today, they can contact me at my email is April Hom, HOM 25 at gmail.com. You can reach me on Facebook at April Hom or use Messenger. And on Instagram, it's Royal Hawaiian 25. And then I am on Twitter and whatever else there is. Now there's what's the new one? I haven't really been out
X.
there yet, but
Oh,
X,
yeah.
X, and then the other one, Thread.
Oh, yeah,
So
thread.
all of those. And then if you just want to, hit me up on Instagram, send me a DM, or on Facebook, like I said, on Messenger, and I'd be happy to, answer your questions. And if I don't have the answer, I'd be happy to check some resources for you. Even if you are not in California, I do advocate for, anywhere that you might be. I can try and help you in those areas. I'm all over the place. So that's not a problem. And then anything else that you think you need help with, Tim, just give me a buzz.
I love it. April, thanks again for coming on my show.
No problem. I appreciate you asking me to come on, and good luck to you in the election. And I hope everything works out for you. So thanks a lot. Aloha.